Mistakes were made, and my body and my Tesla paid the price.
Oh, man, the brakes are too hot. Oh, no. Oh, no, oh, no, no.
Hey guys, welcome to a special episode of Chillin with Chet. I thought I'd come to you and just let you know how things are going with me post Tesla crash that I was involved in, and kind of let you know how I'm doing and what's been going on, and kind of my breakdown of the incident, and kind of clear up some questions that a lot of people have had. Also clear up a lot of things that probably some things that people didn't realize. So, without further ado, I thought I'd just jump right into it and start talking about my injuries, I guess. So I broke my right knee. I was pushing pretty hard on the brake pedal when I hit the tire wall, as you see in the video. Just kind of the way my knee was positioned, it just kind of flexed in to the side and tore my ACL. It also flexed so much that I actually broke my tibia, the cradle part in my knee, put a decent fracture in there. So as far as the knee goes, I can hobble around. I'm dealing with quite a bit of swelling, but I have to ice it all the time and whatnot until it basically heals. It's not something they're going to go in and repair. It's definitely something they're just going to allow to heal over time and hope for the best, that it heals properly. Once that's done, get a little bit more flexibility, and then they're going to put me right into surgery for my torn ACL. I've never had any injuries to my knees before, so this is the first. Not really looking forward to it. I have other beat up shoulders and a few other issues that I've been dealing with for a long time. So it's kind of disheartening to actually hurt my knees in this incident. I also hurt my left foot a little bit, broke a small toe down there, and then up to the ribs. The way interesting enough, the way the steering wheel with the yoke, I'm getting around a lot better. This was 3 weeks ago, but when I was turning, and you see in the video, I actually have to keep your hands on the wheel basically at all times. It's not like a normal steering wheel where you can allow it to slide within your hand and then grab it again and do what you need to do to manipulate the steering wheel. So as you see in that video, I positioned myself, but my arm was up, and that really exposed my rib cage to basically the intrusion of the door once I hit the wall. Luckily, there wasn't like any sharp metal to cut me or anything, but I did take quite a hit and broke 5 ribs. I bruised my lung, and I also had a pneumothorax, a little small air pocket in there that's kind of been floating around, and it's definitely gone by now. It's dissipated by now, but it hurt pretty bad. As you see too, I was ambulating, and I was walking around. Right after the incident, I extricated myself, clicked out the seatbelt, and my knee felt a little weird, but my lungs definitely hurt. My ribs really hurt in that area. I always knew I was going to go to the hospital, but originally I was going to tell them I'll drive myself in, or I was going to have Cody drive me in. But the decision was made, you know what, let me just go with those guys in case things go sideways. I'm in the right hands, and get the proper care that I needed. Also, when I was on scene, one of my good old friends, who was a captain on the fire truck, he's one of the guys that showed up. So that was a pleasant surprise. We used to work together in Tempe and had a lot of fun back in the day in our 20s. I scared him quite a bit. He was kind of shocked that it was me, and I know how those things go whenever you run a call on one of your friends or somebody or family member. It's kind of one of those gut-wrenching moments. I definitely did my best, I think, to calm him down, that I was fine, but he also knows between friends, you're kind of gonna downplay things, and he really wanted me to go in by ambulance, and that also affected my decision to just go in by ambulance and make sure that everything was safe. The guys were fantastic. Cody was there immediately. I was really worried that nobody saw it. I was out there at the end of the day, and there was nothing going on. Literally, the day was wrapping up. Everybody was packing up. We were all going home. And my first thought was, gosh, I hope they saw some dust or something, or noticed that I haven't come back around yet. God forbid, walk in to get somebody's attention or try to call them. I don't know. But luckily, they were definitely paying attention, and they saw what happened. So again, I just want to thank everybody in the first responders and everybody there, as well as my family. I scared them quite a bit. I scared my daughter a lot, and that was really, really difficult. It was a very humbling experience, and it's something that I'd like to promise that I'm never going to do to them again. I mean, I'm in I'm in a fun job where we do a lot of crazy fun stuff, but to be honest, things can happen. And I've been doing this a long time, riding quads or racing cars or off-road vehicles, and they sometimes get the better of you. So I'm sorry to all of them for scaring them, but also thank you for being by my side. I mean, I was literally on bed rest for 2 weeks, and my family all just stopped and came and, took care of me 100%. So formally, just thank you guys. I really appreciate everything you've done for me and are still doing for me. Okay, guys, so let me just jump into kind of what we were doing that day. A lot of people were like, why was I out there? Obviously, the helmet is a big topic. Why was I not wearing a helmet? Why didn't I have full safety gear on? I'll just tell you right now, we were out there shooting not for the Tesla at all. The Tesla I drove out there because I had just gotten it back from servicing and a little bit of warranty. Basically fixing some of the other issues I had from the past with the motors and the oil and some other stuff. And I was excited to get it out there. Plus, we had just done the brake upgrade. So I thought, well, we'll bring it out there and I'll just do a couple little laps. We're not out here to film the Tesla today. We're just going to be doing the Audi video that we've been working on. And that's what we were doing all day. We shot with the Audi for like 3 hours. We were just going in and out of corners. And then I'd turn around and then, I would drop off Cody and he would be way down the end of the track for a flyby. We were doing stuff that was like controlled, very safe. We were all alone. There was nobody else on the track for most of the day. That's kind of the mode that we were in. Then we wrapped that up. The track was closing down, and I said, hey, I'm going to go jump in the Tesla. I'll just throw my phone up on the recorder on the dash, get a little bit of recording, and I'll just go out there and film it and see how these brakes are doing. Because we have been shooting a long-running video, the saga, basically, of the Tesla since post-water and what we've been doing to get it back up and fixed so we could, break the world record in the quarter mile with it. As you see in the video, I only did basically 1.5 full laps. The first lap down that back straightaway, which by the way is not normally open, but it was open. So we could carry a lot more speed in the back straightaway. And you see that I did come to a full stop and brake one time where I actually utilized the brakes. I wouldn't say I mashed them at 100% and was putting them through some extreme test. I was still very hesitant of the brakes. Tesla has a program that basically tells you, okay, now slow down, and you did it properly, now do it again. So you have to do it like 10 times. And we had already done that way prior to driving it out there before we even took it to Tesla for service this last time. I made a comment in the video like, I hope that we bled them properly. And that's just me always downgrading my ability, just kind of making a comment. I hope we did it right. Quite frankly, I still believe that we did do it right as far as the physical nature of what we did, which was changing the brakes and bleeding them properly. When I jumped in, I didn't have a helmet on. I didn't have a helmet on earlier in the day either. We were just filming like those little short sections. It wasn't basically a helmet day or requirement. And it's just something that you are on your own wits out there, and you're basically, just don't push the car too much. Don't be doing hot laps. Don't be doing hoonigan stuff. You don't have all your safety gear on. Just you go out there and drive more spiritedly. That's legal, I would say, other than just doing it out on the street, out in my front yard somewhere, right? So that's kind of what we were doing. The Tesla was the same extension of that, but it was really cut short. That first lap, I'm laughing and giggling for most of that lap. And the reason is the car is so powerful. I was also very excited. It felt back to normal. It had been reducing power and doing a few other things up until that point. And then we had it all flushed out, all the bad oil with the water and everything flushed. And I was excited too to feel that power, but also feel the regen, feel the brakes, working. I thought they were. And I was just kind of in a really excited mood that, this thing's finally coming around. And when we went back around that final lap, that final straightaway before I wrecked, I remember pushing it and boom, it hit 100 miles an hour. And the car is insanely fast and no other car accelerates like that car. And I thought, okay, I'll just stay in it a little bit longer. I'll stay in it till my normal braking zones for that straightaway with any car, mind you, the Audi, the huge SUV I just had out there. I'm going to still hit the same braking zones. And that's really what I did. If anything, it caught me off guard was we had the hatch off and it always was great. I could drive that out in the freeway and there's not much wind coming in. It's actually really quiet. I could actually talk almost on speakerphone with the hatch off, and it doesn't bother you very much. But after about 150, which I had never really pushed it that fast, it then started to really howl, and that's when the pressure in the car got too extreme and popped out that window, blew the tape out, and that probably took my attention for a millisecond. I would say a millisecond in that time is about probably 100 feet at that speed, and by that time, then I started to apply brakes, and as you see, they were gone. Like immediately, I had no brake sensation. I felt pressure. I did not go directly to the floor. I went halfway. They felt soft, I would say, but I felt like I still had room to push. You know, you see me readjust in the seat and push much harder on the brake. And where I get that from is the Porsche, the Viper, my race car. As a normal driver on the street, you brake a lot different than you do on a racetrack. It's much more linear and smooth on the street. On the racetrack, it's definitely linear, but it's a much quicker roll in into the brakes and then extremely firm when you need it. You just want to shorten your brake zones, which increases your speed. And in that situation, my instincts kicked in to just brake harder. There's so many times in the Viper and the Porsche, I would say, for example, with ceramic brakes, where I brake harder and they reward you with more braking ability. And I felt, okay, there's just got to be more here. I'm not getting into them yet. Let me push harder. And there was nothing there. It was completely gone. The brakes are not affected by track mode. And that was the first time that I'd also been in track mode. The track mode basically takes off all the stability control and reduces your traction control so it doesn't interfere with the car when you're on the track. So you can get it around corners, slide it out a little bit. And even in this case, when I did put it into that controlled slide, I knew there was no way I was going to make that corner. It's not even a 90-degree corner. It's much more aggressive than that. And why I wanted to do that was to add some friction to the tires and the pavement and cause it to slow down. Rolling straight ahead was not slowing it down, obviously. I feel like the regen was working in that moment, but it wasn't doing enough. It wasn't doing anything. But under 100 miles an hour, the regen on that car in track mode is insanely aggressive. It's almost one pedal driving on the track. And it also instilled a lot more confidence in me into why I went ahead and stabbed the throttle and pushed it up to 170 miles an hour. One, I knew I had big brakes. Two, I felt I did it properly. I felt that they were bled, that they were burnished correctly from driving on the street on the way there, completing the burnish test that the Tesla has you do. The 2 minutes of driving where I would let off the throttle and off the brakes completely and it would still be braking extremely hard. All these things were confidence building for me. And I did not have any fade or brake failure at all up until that moment. And to be honest, I was thinking the car is going to brake. It sounds crazy. And that's what the drama of the car being loud inside with the wind doesn't necessarily affect the performance of the car. But as far as you, the viewer, in my mind, in that millisecond of time, I thought, oh, this will be great footage of it howling inside the car, and it'll sound cool. You can barely hear me talking. I have to yell over it, and it'll just be a nice shot of drama added to the car of how loud it is when the doors are off. All those things built up to that moment where I pushed it up to 170 miles an hour. And in that moment, I was left with absolutely no brakes, and they failed like that. And if you guys remember, after my water stunt, I did lose regeneration braking, and I drove that car for a couple thousand miles with no regen, racing it, doing a few things. But I knew exactly what I was dealing with. I knew that these brakes were warped, that they would overheat, and they were completely inadequate for the car. They also burned up and cracked and broke. I mean, as you see in the install video, they were completely toasted in a couple thousand miles. So driving that car on the street with the regen, just in normal form, not even in track mode, takes some time to get used to it. And all Tesla people that have felt this before, the brakes are so strong, the regen brakes are so strong that you slow down way early at your stoplights, let's say, for example, and you have to then accelerate to get up to where you normally would stop. And I had just got regen back, and I was still just learning that. I think it's a process that you have to kind of retrain your brain that regen's got it. We don't have to brake. And if you want regen to do the whole thing, you need to actually start braking way later than what you normally would naturally with a normal car with normal brakes. So let's say I would start braking here with a normal car and the stoplights up here, because that's just the way I brake, a nice slow linear stop. Well, the Tesla is so aggressive, you would have to stop braking here, and then the stop arch is much quicker. And that's kind of what I was learning with the car. So then for it to go into track mode and be even more aggressive, that's what I was feeling. It was a big confidence booster, and really put my guard down with the ability of the regen, the ability of the new brakes that I'd put in. And I honestly did not even think about the weak point, which I still believe is the .3 fluid, was mixed in with the new racing fluid that we had put in to top it off. I hadn't even thought about the fluid until way after the accident, when I was analyzing it, like, why would these things be gone? And I realized we didn't flush the brakes out. And a lot of people are jumping on the bandwagon. You know, you're a moron. Why would you ever push the car? You just got new brakes. Well, all those things I just told you is why. I'm not justifying myself and saying that it's 100% equipment failure. I needed to do better, and I needed to be more cautious, err on the side of caution. But all those things did build up and build some confidence in me to think that the car should stop. Or I'll have one bad braking zone, and I had a nice runoff in that area of the track. I actually have a very long runoff in my mind. I'm thinking I have a nice, long, safe runoff. So even if I pushed it a little too much here, I still will have a nice long runoff with brakes to be able to still stop this car. There's no way I'm going to blow through it at 100 miles an hour, slide through and hit that wall. So for it to maintain its speed all the way until that corner, and I put it in a slide, was quite honestly just incredible to me. I don't even know. I mean, the amount of speed I carried into that corner, into the wall, was just off the charts. It was something that kind of, I hate to say, it's kind of what nightmares are made of, where you really, I don't know if you guys have ever had a bad incident in your life and it's a close call, and then you kind of replay that in your head, or you heard of other people like myself going through something like that, and then you replay it in your head, and you're like, oh man, it almost like affects you like it really happened to you. That's what I was going through, and it was really happening in that moment, and I was just thinking like, wow, the wall's here. Wow, there's nothing I can do. There's absolutely no prayer I can say. There's nothing I can do other than avoid a barrier that was directly in front of me and not hit that head on and put it into a slide. Because I would rather have tried to hit on the passenger side. But let me talk about all the safety equipment that I did have and that I didn't have when I hit that wall. So let me go and kind of what the safety equipment was. When I'm on race week, prior to that, I have a big Kirky aluminum seat, puts you nice and upright. It locks you in. But to be honest, I could only use that with a normal seat belt, and I wasn't getting the full benefits of that anyways. They're extremely uncomfortable, and I was not intending to race that car in the current configuration that it was in, and I was not happy with the seats, so I was swapping them out anyhow. So what was in the car at the time of the crash was the two front seats, the two normal front seats, the seat belts were all bolted, everything was bolted in correctly. The center console was in mainly so that the service department at Tesla could use the key, because normally that is out too, because I don't need it with my phone. That's the key for the car, and everything else was still intact. The one thing though, why those doors didn't the airbags didn't go off, and I said in the video maybe they were taken out or whatnot. They weren't. They were all the airbags were still there. What was happening is all those doors I had ordered off of eBay. They're just shells of a door. And then we put the hinges on them and got them to function properly, put the Lexan windows on them, screwed that all in. And the actual functioning normal door is sitting in saran wrap in my garage. Well, inside those doors are actually the airbag sensors. Those airbag sensors are what tell the airbags to deploy. And in this case, those airbag sensors were gone. So that's why I didn't have any airbags deploy when I hit the wall. But as far as safety equipment goes, I had my normal stock seatbelt, normal stock seat, obviously. And in that situation, allowing myself, what I was trying to say was allowing myself to manipulate my body into hitting that wall. It actually, in my opinion, saved my neck, maybe even saved my life. Because if I was upright in that Kirky seat with just, let's even say, a helmet with no neck protection, which is a very common thing for people to do in race cars, I would have had shear forces that probably would have broke my neck and paralyzed me or killed me. Now, again, I should have had safety equipment on, but to be honest, I should have had full safety equipment on, full racing fire suit, Hans device, helmet, gloves, and shoes, especially to go that speed. But I will tell all the internet and all the keyboard heroes out there that want to teach me a lesson. Some of you may have raced before, and you can look on most videos of people in the world of the internet racing and driving their cars. They're wearing a helmet. Correct. They are. A lot of them are. But they're not wearing a Hans device. They're not wearing a racing suit. They're not wearing all these other things that all need to be combined and conjuncted into one to get the proper safety from them. To backtrack a little, what I was saying again, if you're wearing a helmet of 5 pounds and you push up 20 G's, you're looking at 100 pounds. That helmet could turn into basically 100 pounds. Now that's my Chet math, of additional weight on your head. Your head weighs about 10 pounds times 20. That could be an additional, so that's 200 pounds. Now your head is 200 pounds. Now you have an additional 100 pounds of helmet on your head, and your neck is still exactly the same. And that is those situations, Dale Earnhardt and some other situations where a Hans device, a proper fitted Hans device, will then make your whole body safe and your neck safe. And I was just trying to say that a helmet could have exacerbated that issue and created a whole nother issue. And I'm just telling people out there, if you really want to be safe, you need to have the harnesses, the Hans device, as well as the helmet to protect your head and neck. Okay, so let's just talk about the brakes specifically. The stock brakes prior, like I said, were completely shot. The regen stopped working from the underwater stunt. So the pads and the rotors were completely shot within 3,000 miles of hard driving of the Tesla. So I knew from way back, though, when I first took it to the track against the Taycan, that I needed to upgrade them. Whoa, and my brakes are completely shot. Oh, I just blew that corner. Wow. All right. I actually was in conversation with Unplugged at the time about getting those brakes, and I wanted to get the first set that became available because I knew that car was going to need an upgrade. Plus, they were a little bit lighter, and I knew that was the way to breaking world records with these cars was to just simply lighten the car, and that was a decent weight reduction that I could do for the car. So what we did in the prior video, you can see that we put on the ceramic brakes, the new 6-piston calipers. The brake lines were also upgraded to steel braided front and back. And in the rear, I put in new rotors, steel rotors, factory Tesla rotors, and aftermarket racing brake pads. So we went through and did all of that. Unplugged sent me 2 bottles of racing brake fluid. It's called 660. And basically that was told to make sure that you flush it all out and use that fluid. That's where I messed up. We knew that fluid is technically just a .4. The fluid that Tesla provides with the Plaid is .3. And we know that those two blend with no issues at all. So basically, to get through the brake upgrade and get the thing over to Tesla, I wouldn't say we were hyper rushed, but we needed to get the car done that day. So basically we filled back up with the racing fluid, allowed some of that to mix wherever it mixes. It didn't matter. And, get the brakes broken in and get it over to Tesla's for service. And then we will flush the brakes later when we're ready to start pushing it and start tracking and doing all the fun things that we had planned for the car. Taking it out on the track that day, I literally drove it as a backup car, as my daily type driver, just to get to the track, and might as well perform a little bit of Uncle Chet test braking on my own, at least on a closed course, and not be pushing it out on, the public roads. So that's what I was using the racetrack for. It has the term racetrack in it, but to me, it was just a closed course, a closed, safe environment for me to basically break the brakes in a little bit more, test them out, feel them out, and start to get used to them. And, as you see, pushing the car to that speed, they just were not ready to handle that. And the .3 fluid, in my opinion, was the critical failing factor, and boiled over immediately with no warning, not even little to no, with no warning, and we're completely gone in that instance. I have seen other videos where people have pulled over and their Tesla Plaid brakes caught on fire, and they were shooting, your laser temperature readers, and I saw one go up to 900 degrees, and they had a brake issue. That's not to say though that almost every car journalist out there that tested the Plaid all had the same review about the brakes. They're woefully undersized, they heat up, and they are not confidence inspiring. And in some cases, you see in the videos, they actually had brake failure similar to mine. There is one that is out there. It was a white one. You guys might have seen it. And that one just completely lost the brakes and hit a wall, unfortunately.
Whoa, yeah. Are you okay?
Also, guys, I just want to kind of settle a debate and some comments that I've made. The car has a setting called track mode. Coming from, a legal background, and I'm not legal. I'm not a lawyer of any degree, but my business of air ambulances and dealing with insurance company, I'm fairly well versed in contract law and the way lawyers think and legality of things. For a manufacturer to come out and not call it sport mode, not call it fun, happy, hoonigan mode, they call it track mode. And in my mind, they're marketing that car not as a four-door sedan to go get groceries. They're marketing that car with the ability to go on a track and have a track day. I am still shocked that they allowed that name to come out, but I think their marketing and their media pressure, their stock market to keep people happy and keep this thing thrust in people's minds was to give people the ability to have this track mode on this car. And they really did not take safety into consideration with the fact that it has .3 fluid and also severely undersized brakes. They were not listening, obviously, to the reviewers, because in my opinion, I have not watched one review of the car from professional and amateur reviewers where they didn't say these brakes are dangerous, these brakes are faded, these brakes have an issue, this brake is the weak point. The car can accelerate way faster than it can brake, and we're gonna have a problem.
Braking zones disappear in this car. It's severely underbraked.
It's dangerously underbraked. Worse brakes than a Hellcat Red Eye with more power.
And never should you have that type of situation where you have a total loss of brake control.
When I'm trying to make a point and say it says track mode, me as a normal person that's been on a racetrack quite a bit, I know deep down the car has its limitations. It is not a race car. It shouldn't have track mode written on that program. To call it track mode, my point is that they're selling a bill of goods to the public that this car can handle a track, and it cannot handle a track. And anybody out there that wants to debate this, get in a car, get in this car in particular, push the brakes, and you will quickly find out the car cannot handle anything past one hard braking zone, and even then you're probably going to feel those brakes fail. Another thing that guys really wanted to bring up was, yeah, you're an idiot. You didn't swap out the garbage .3 fluid, the stock fluid, when you upgraded the brakes. Okay, I agree. I'm an idiot. I should have changed it out if I pushed the car at all. At all. I should have swapped out the fluid. Now knowing that, now you guys all know that, don't even mess around with that .3 fluid. Get it out of the car, because it's going to fail on you at some point, especially if you go to a track and you put it in track mode, which the car apparently is designed to do, is apparently okay with, that Tesla's okay with that. You, as the amateur, as the consumer, should not trust Tesla and go get .4, put a racing brake fluid in there. This 660 fluid that we're talking about is a fantastic fluid. You don't have to flush it all the time. It's not abrasive in the system. It can be left alone and basically utilized like a normal, brake fluid, the way we would treat a .3 or a .4. So don't trust Tesla and take out that garbage fluid. Don't be like me and leave it in, thinking that it will do the bare minimum and stop the car in stock form. And another thing that people really want to talk about is that it's gutted, it's stripped out, it's a shell of a car, and there's no safety equipment. I will tell you one thing though that does provide as a benefit: it's much lighter. The car performs much better under performance situations. It accelerates faster, and guess what? It's supposed to brake a lot faster. It's a lot lighter. That's just simple physics. So for people to jump on that bandwagon and say, look at the car and the state of it. Yes, it is more dangerous. Yes, it should have a roll cage. Yes, all these other things. It's not that safe if I get into an accident or the brakes fail. But if the braking system was functioning normal, or the brake fluid had been better, the car would have braked probably in a much shorter braking period than what it was doing stock. And that's the whole point of what I did for the upgrade. Okay, guys, so what's next with the Tesla Submarine? It's totaled. The car is completely trashed. Every body panel is damaged. Every single thing has a nick, ding, or cracked or broken. It's not in good shape at all. But when I looked at it again, I started to think, if the structure is not bent, if the battery pack is not damaged internally, externally, if the drive lines didn't explode or break or have serious issues in those, the car actually is kind of rebuildable. As far as car insurance goes, if I had wrecked that car on a normal road, I could actually make a claim. I mean, yeah, you're an idiot, you're speeding, people drink and drive, or they cause accidents all day long, but their insurance, if they make a claim, will still cover it. That's what insurance is for. It's not only to help you when you get hurt or injured by somebody else, it's when you mess up. And in this case, I would say I messed up or the brakes messed up or whatever. But I was on a closed course. I was on a private track on a private day, and the clearly says in most insurance policies that you have no coverage. So for me, I had dropped about $170,000 in that car. I did pay exactly $170,000 for that car. There's the additional, rims and a few other little things I did. So, $180,000 worth of a car, completely gone. But like I said, if I can salvage these batteries, if I can salvage the basic structure and the motors and some other things, which we'll be hopefully testing sooner than later, then we might have a rebuildable car here. I'm thinking an exoskeleton style, something lightweight, but obviously safe with a nice cage all around it. Thinking Mad Max, thinking maybe road course, maybe even the sand, maybe finally skip the water like I've been wanting to do, and a few other things. But, a real Frankenstein, thing that I think you guys will all enjoy. And again, this has incredible power, and I can finally upgrade the brakes, upgrade the suspension the way I wanted to do, and, get that thing on a track and just start smashing records and having a lot of fun with it again. So cross your fingers that the car isn't fatally damaged and that it's repairable to a degree, and we get that thing back up and running and entertaining me and you guys once again. All right, guys. So, and that really wraps it up. Car is in a lot right now. Just kind of wait until the next steps. I am, slowly recovering. I have, like I said, I have to get my ACL done and a few other things. So I'm going to be hobbling around for a little while. But in the meantime, I have a few other fun videos, a few other things that I'm going to be doing that doesn't take much of a physical thing from me. And, get back out there and keep on entertaining you guys. Again, your support has been so overwhelming with this, guys, for the most part. There's some, jackasses out there in the comments and whatnot that like to make their opinion about this channel and me and all that. And I really don't care about them. But to the ones that really, reached out and wished me well and have been praying for me and, want nothing but the best for me, I thank you guys. I feel it. And I still feel it today. I'm feeling it right now on my phone. I know I have messages right now from you guys. So just thank you. And, if you want to keep helping out, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends about it, share it. I'm having merch come out real soon. Finally, we have a really, really amazing shirt for the Razor that was stolen. And we're going to be doing a joint giveaway with Side by Side Blog. I'm super excited about that. Plus a few other cool new shirts are coming out. Some hats are coming out, and it's going to be some really, really great stuff coming up here throughout the rest of the year. Well, that's it for today, guys. I got to get back to, I got some medicine to take, a few nurses to harass, and get back in bed. So until then, that is just another day chilling with Chet.